Yeah, so this is my talk. So you want to run a meetup? Question mark. I'm actually really glad that I ended up with this name. It's my first time doing this talk. But when I actually sent the CFP to Matt, I think the title was like 2 sentences long, and I don't even think it was grammatically correct. So I'm like really glad that he made me change that back to something normal. Obligatory photo of my face in a circle. My name is James Milner. I'm a developer evangelist at Esri UK. If for whatever reason you want to contact me, those are my details. So email, Twitter, and website. So Esri UK, if you haven't heard of us, we are a GIS software company. So GIS, Geographical Information Systems. Hands up if you know what GIS is or you've come across GIS before.
Geographical Information System.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm doing developer relations for them. You might not guess because I forgot to wear a t-shirt, so that was not smooth. I run developer evangelism team in the UK, so it's just me. I'm responsible for obviously promoting our APIs. Very similar thing to what the majority of people in this room probably do. First things first, I just want to say that I think it's really cool that we could all get together in a room. There's a lot of people in this room that I've met over the last year of doing this, and it's just like really awesome that we could all come together and kind of be in the same space and share our thoughts. So I want to kind of keep this quite light, and if you guys want to jump in and shout things out, then I'm more than cool with that. And yeah, thanks to Matt for putting this on. So yeah, a bit about developer relations at Esri UK. So the first thing to say about that is that I work for actually a distributor, so I'm not. I don't actually work for Esri. So Esri is like the parent company in the States, and then like Esri UK, and then there's like Esri Germany, Esri France, and they're all actually distributors. So that's actually when I think Brandon was saying earlier about burnout, and I was saying that one of the things is does anyone get annoyed like when they feel like they lose control? They don't have control. One of the things that I find actually a lot when I'm not burning out is the fact that we don't actually make the product that we sell. So it's like really hard sometimes when you're like, someone's like, this doesn't work. And I'm like, okay, cool, but there's nobody in the office who actually works on that API or whatever. So like I have to email some guys in the States and they spend like 2 weeks getting back to me. So that can sometimes be, like a bit of a pain, but something you like learn to live with. And if you format your documents properly and you send them to the right people, then eventually things change. So there's quite a strong stateside developer relations team. So there's about 6 or 7 people out in the US doing developer relations for Esri. Hands up if you've ever met someone from Esri. All right, cool. That's actually most of the stateside people, I imagine. Over here it's pretty much just me on my lonesome, but I'm really lucky in that I have a really awesome team of people that kind of support me and back me up, and I've got managers who understand developer relations and they understand the importance. So that's really cool. So obviously I'm a developer evangelist. Do all the kind of traditional things, go and talk at meetups and conferences and sponsor hackathons and all this kind of traditional stuff. I guess there's a few things that we probably do a little bit different to most people. So we run these like first-party geodev meetups, so they're kind of all about Esri technology, and so Esri kind of normally more sits in the kind of enterprise software market. So there's a lot of people who are actually really like that's what they use day in day out. They just use Esri technology. So we run these first-party meetups, and that's kind of mimicked off what was going on in the US, and that was like they've been running those over there for years. So that's kind of why I'm giving this talk about meetups, is because of these geodev meetups that we run. We also have like an annual conference. So we have this big event that happens every year in Westminster, and I think this year we had about 2,000 people, and this was our first year running our own developer floor. So that was pretty cool. That was quite a nice experience. Managed to get some people come in who didn't talk about Esri, which was like a massive, like nobody had done that before. They had like external speakers speak about like open source and stuff, which was really cool. And also I helped run GeoHack Day with Rod Burns, who I don't know where he's at now. I've also been engaged with the student hackathons, so obviously Tim and Joe were just talking about that's really awesome. You guys should definitely get involved. And yeah, I'm also heading up the startup program, so I do end up doing a lot of different things. But yeah, I came to talk about meetups, not about me. So let's talk about meetups in the broadest sense. So there's a lot of different types of meetups. There's, obviously there's things that are meetups that are platform specific, language specific. You have like interest specific. So for example, in our case, it would be like geo is a kind of running theme, but it might be something like game development. And then you kind of have obviously meetups that revolve around sort of open source technologies and ones that revolve more around proprietary technologies. So the examples I've got there is like the D3JS London meetup as open source tech, and then London Unity for proprietary technology meetups. And there's things that kind of don't fit into any of those kind of categories, like show and tell. So if you haven't been to London Hack and Tell, thoroughly recommend it. Very good meetup. They just let you come and talk about projects that you've been working on, like interesting stuff. But I think one of the points that I want to make here is that it's kind of meetups, they actually end up falling into multiple different categories. So it's kind of like this crazy Venn diagram of like things intersecting. It's never really just one type of meetup. So motivations for involvement, I didn't want to put bullet points again, so I put things in like randomly sized fonts and like spread them around. But there's loads of different motivations for wanting to get involved in meetups, and each meetup's going to have different people who are there for different reasons. So from an evangelist perspective, there's obviously one of the major reasons is evangelism, right? So spreading awareness of your technologies, like so on and so forth. You guys know this stuff. A recruitment, so obviously a lot of people, like a lot of companies might run meetups to help, like hire more developers. Brand awareness, interest, and like general interest. So people obviously come along because they're interested, right? So they go because they have some level of involvement with that technology, or they use that in their day jobs or their side projects or whatever it might be. So there's lots of different reasons and reasons why people are kind of motivated and they want to get involved in meetups. So I kind of like listed some reasons, listed some things that I think help make for a great meetup. So the one thing I've come to realise from organising this GeoDev meetup with Azure UK is that organisation is like the number one key thing for making sure that comes, like that meetup comes across well. I mean, I cannot like stress enough like how many things that I regretted from the first time I ran a meetup, and just not having been more organised and not actually dedicated more time. Like I didn't realise how much actual time there was, how much time it takes just to get some people in a room and like talk about something. It's like actually a surprising amount. I mean, all those things I've listed there are actually subcategories of organisation in my opinion. So interesting content, actually finding interesting speakers, people who actually have something to contribute to the conversation, and can provide people with kind of interesting content. Community building, so like structuring your meetup in such a way that it encourages people to keep coming back and to keep discussing the technology. Critical mass, so there's two cut-off points, right? So there's having too few people, which is never that great. You don't want to have, it's not really ideal to have like 6 people in a room talking about Node.js or whatever it might be. But at the same time, it's not really ideal to have 200 people, like 200 faces people in a room, people leaving halfway through, like so on and so forth, people disengaged. So having that nice balance between the two, I think, is really sort of important. Timing, so sometimes people run meetups at like 9 p.m. or like 8 p.m. or whatever, and it's kind of like, well, people have gone home by then and they're not really that interested, they don't really have that much interest in coming back out and like leaving the house to go to a meetup back in central London or back in, wherever it might be. Obviously, I think Jesse touched on food and drink, but just making sure that you have you cater for everyone, and healthy food. Like how many people have been to a meetup and just been given pizza and beer, and it's just kind of like, yeah. I mean, like some people love that, and that's fine, but it's not for everyone, right? Jesse already did an awesome job about talking about inclusivity, but I also think it's just really important talking about keeping things positive. Like one thing I keep seeing is, like, I know Jesse mentioned like well actually, but also just generally people being unnecessarily sort of like like critical, and like that just kind of sucks. So I'm trying to avoid that. It's how people organise meetups. Well, obviously, like we use meetup.com, and that's the main one that everyone's heard of. But I kind of wanted to leave that as an open question. Like, is anyone using anything other than meetup.com or Lambda at all? Eventbrite. Anything else?
Google Docs.
Google Docs. Yeah, I've heard people using like Google Docs. I think like Brown.js use Google Docs.
We're using our own homegrown one, and we're switching to meetups.
Okay, cool. So homegrown is another option. Okay, cool. So you guys probably know all that already, right? Like you go to enough meetups. But I wanted to discuss running one. So I've kind of like segmented this into 3 parts, or like 3 different approaches. So you can either run your own meetup, or you can run a meetup that is not specifically about your technology, but kind of falls into a wider kind of wider technology spectrum, or you can just go and sponsor somebody else's meetup. And each of them have different benefits, pros and cons. So I think I've kind of broken it down. There's probably more than this, but I've broken it down to 4 different things. So there's the amount of interest you're going to get. So if you run a meetup just about your technology, there's actually a strong chance that you will actually get less people, and you might expose less people to your technology, right? There's also the amount of effort. So if you sponsor someone else's event, there's obviously less effort for you, because you don't have to organise that. You don't have to find a venue, like so on and so forth. You just have to potentially show up and maybe give out some t-shirts or pay for some beers or whatever it might be. The third thing you've got is efficacy. So you actually reaching the goals of why you wanted to run that meetup. So if you run the meetup and you are explicitly promoting like your technology, then you probably are going to have arguably more impact than if you just, again, just pay for some beers, right? And the last thing is commercial vibes. So I just wanted to touch on kind of, obviously, if you run your own first-party meetup, you don't want it to feel like a marketing exercise. You want it to feel like an engaging community event. So yeah, if you don't get that picture, you should go watch Mr. Robot, because it is awesome. So yeah, first of all, the sponsor someone else's meetup approach. So kind of, I guess one of the benefits of this is de-risk, right? So they're already running that meetup. You already know how many people are going to sign up. You already know that people are interested. You just have to potentially provide some money, potentially provide some interesting content. So it's limited effort. You don't have to worry too much. And there's also the effect that it's being run by people who are probably just interested, rather than other kind of like companies trying to market their products. Tech agnostic meetup. So you're sponsoring a meetup that is not specifically about your technology. So you're like a NoSQL database provider, and you're sponsoring a NoSQL database meetup, right? So you're going to get a wider audience, because it's not just people who are there to be talking about your technology. You're exposing your technology to a wider group. Again, if you're running that firsthand and you're not running out with anyone else, the amount of effort is going to be pretty high to actually do that, because you have to organise the venue, the speakers, so on and so forth. And if you're doing that also, I think like to an extent your commercial kind of vibes are marginally negated, because you don't have to deal with, people aren't just saying, well, it's all about you. You're playing ball with the rest of the community, right? And then running your own events. So I'd say like the amount of interest is going to just be likely to be correlated with the number of people who are interested in your technology. So if you're like a really small startup, then it's probably maybe not the best idea to go and run your own first-party meetup about your technology, because there's just not going to be the traction there to have enough people to come along. But the amount of effort you're going to put in is going to be pretty high, right? So you're going to have to do everything. And there's kind of the point that you have to manage the commercial vibes of that. So you have to manage the kind of, nobody wants to go to meetup and people just talk about themselves or their own technology. So if you can find ways of kind of integrating different talks or different things apart from your own technology into that meetup, that's quite cool. So I'm just going to focus on this one, because this is the one that I've kind of fallen into, and one of the things that our company's been doing for a while So actually, I think the first thing to ask is this a good idea? Because the answer to that question might definitely be no. For one of the reasons that I just mentioned, which was you might not have enough traction to get enough people together to do that. So it's one of the questions I ask about our own meetup all the time, but I've kind of been, well, I mean, my management team think that it's a good idea, so I trust their judgment and I keep following through with it. And so far I think it is a good idea, but I still sometimes query that. Because running a first party meetup is a bold move. You're saying that there's enough people who are interested in this technology to come along to a pub and take time out of their day to come and talk about what it is that you do or whatever your company, the software that your company is providing, right? So obviously you're going to have to start thinking about all sorts of things, like you're going to have to engage your current community, you're going to have to find ways of promoting meetup, which I'll talk about in a minute, finding a venue, finding food, making sure that the food is good quality and that you're catering to everyone's needs, finding people who actually want to speak is going to be an interesting kind of dilemma, because that might be the first thing that you struggle with, is that you decided you want to run this meetup and then nobody actually wants to come and talk apart from themselves, which is, that can be a bit boring for attendees. What are your goals for running a meetup? So I think one of the important things to think of is what do you actually want to get out of it? What are the end results that you would like to see from actually running that meetup? So some of the things I've listed there are like community building, technology uptake, brand awareness, these kinds of things. But again, I kind of want to open it up, and if any of you are running meetups or you're sponsoring meetups or you're involved in meetups in any way, what are the goals that you want to achieve by being involved in those meetups? And then how will you measure these things? Again, like the age-old question of how do you measure like developer relations? How do you prove to your managers or their managers how that kind of sponsoring these meetups is worth it? So some of the things I measure is things like number of attendees, number of speakers, the number of people who actually actively want to come and speak is always quite a nice thing to measure. You can measure things like social media buzz. One thing we do is we do surveys. So we send out a survey after the meetup, and then we kind of try and gather back as much feedback as we possibly can from those surveys, whether that be negative, positive, or indifferent. And of course you've got like tech signups. So if you've got more API signups because of your meetup, well, that's fantastic, but it might not always necessarily equate to that, especially if those people come to your meetups that are already signed up to your technology. So how you promote the event, again, I'm kind of leaving this open to discussion, but obviously like things that we use are meetup.com because it's on meetup. We also, one thing we do is like we leverage other organisations or things that we sponsor. So we sponsor something called the Association for Geographic Information, which is kind of like the de facto body for like GIS in the UK, and we get them to like post out to their mailing lists and put that on their events page. So there's like networks that you probably can already tap into that you might not necessarily realise that are kind of there to you. So it's always worth exploring that. I also sometimes post things on Lanyard, or there's something called eventhunt.io, which is cool. There's obviously mailing lists and Twitter and all the kind of usual suspects. So we've been running this Geo meetup now for, so I've been here the past year. It was kind of in hiatus before, so they stopped running it because they didn't have anyone who was, like doing developer evangelism. They just had people who were developers who were occasionally helping organise these, like probably begrudgingly to organise these meetups. So I kind of came along, so two like major things I did was rebranded the meetup page. It kind of just, it looked a bit 90s, so I just went along and grabbed our graphic designer and asked him to kind of help us rebrand that page. We also set up a Twitter account, kind of sent out an initial email to like inform people that we kind of kicked it back into life, because obviously a lot of those people are just completely forgotten about us. There's just a nice photo from one of our events. And the other thing we did was kind of like use that meetup group to promote other things. So obviously I was talking before about our annual conference, so I put that on there, and I've got a bit more attention. And then obviously I was running GeoHack Day with Rod, and I put that on there, and it's just kind of like another place. The thing is, you don't want to dilute it with like non-meetup events, but at the same time, like if there's critical events that you kind of want to draw attention to, you can actually use that meetup group to bring people together at things that aren't the traditional kind of meetup space. Picture of Rod. So I guess over the past year, managed to build up that meetup group from 54 people to 178. We probably average about 20 people at our meetups, so I'd like to see that grow. I'd like to kind of move out of our current space because it's probably at about capacity at the moment. And we run them in London primarily at the moment. I averaged out a dropout rate is about 43%, so I guess that's pretty much average, maybe slightly above average for London. I don't know what kind of dropout rates people are getting for meetups, but yeah, our experience is about 43%. We would say like we're going to get roughly 50% dropouts, so if we get 40 signups, we expect about 20 people to come. I just want to finish off on my top 10 tips. So the first thing I found really useful was have a cheat sheet. So what we have is we just have this Word document that just lists everything that I need to take. So every time I'm thinking I need to run this meetup, I literally have a checklist, and I can just go bang, 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 bang. I know I need this many adapters. I know I need this swag. I know I need to post it on this event page, and so on and so forth. The second thing is don't be scared to haggle. We've had a lot of we've changed venues a couple of times, and both times I've managed to get the price down just by saying we're going to get this many people along, can you do us a special deal? So if people say it's this much, don't just take their word for it, don't be scared to kind of barter a little bit. Arrive early, that's something I've learned the hard way. So AV is always a nightmare. I'm sure you guys know this inside out. Arriving early just helps negate a lot of problems. You can get things set up, you can make sure that everything's working. The people who are coming along to meetups, ask them if they want to get involved, if they want to speak, because a lot of people actually won't agree to come and speak unless we explicitly ask them to. So explicitly asking people, I found, is the best way to get people to agree to speak next time. Do a write-up. So I always do a write-up after every event, just so I know what went well, what didn't go well. Sure, a lot of you probably do this already for events. Anyway, I've been reusing the same venue a lot recently, and that's just because it saves so much time and effort. So you kind of have this formula I now have a formula for running this meetup, so I don't have to worry too much about finding a venue, finding out the prices, so on and so forth. I just say, yeah, we kind of want to do the same thing we did last time, right? And that literally saves hours. Another thing is kind of linking events together, so we'll promote the meetup at GeoHack Day or at our annual conference. We linked different events together. So one thing I did was get a bunch of business cards printed with the meetup URL and just kind of hand those out at different events. But yeah, be wary of scale. So you might outgrow your venue, so that's something to think about every time. The next time you go to run an event, just think how many people did we have last time, what's the capacity of that room, because we might have outgrown that. This is something I actually figured out the second time. So having someone greeting there, giving name badges is really nice, kind of welcoming. Having someone there to kind of greet someone as they come in, and just because sometimes people come in and they're just kind of what's going on? So it's just nice to have someone there. And lastly is the feedback survey. So I kind of alluded to that already, but you shouldn't. It's really useful to have honest feedback. So we've been using. Is it SurveyMonkey? What's it called? SurveyMonkey?
Yeah.
Is that right? Yeah, cool. And that's all I got.